Okay, this is day 7, page 62. For a time, perhaps, by survivals, within their own minds, of the old natural too. Thus, at first, they may look upon themselves as servants and guardians of humanity, and conceive that they have a duty to do it good. But it is only by confusion that they can remain in this state. They recognize the concept of duty as the result of certain processes which they can now control. Their victory has consisted precisely in emerging from the state in which they were acted upon by those processes to the state in which they use them as tools. One of the things they now have to decide is whether they will or will not so condition the rest of us that we can go on having the old idea of duty and the old reactions to it. How can duty help them to decide that? Duty itself is up for trial. It cannot also be the judge. And good fares no better. They know quite well how to produce a dozen different conceptions of good in us. The question is which, if any, they should produce. No conception of good can help them to decide. It is absurd to fix on one of the things they are comparing and make it the standard of comparison. To some, it will appear that I am inventing a factious difficulty for my conditioners. Other, more simple-minded critics may ask, why should you suppose they will be such bad men? But I am not supposing them to be bad men. They are, rather, not men in the old sense at all. They are, if you like, men who have sacrificed their own share in traditional humanity in order to devote themselves to the task of deciding what humanity shall henceforth mean. Good and bad, applied to them, are words without content. For it is from them that the content of these words is henceforward to be derived. Nor is there a difficulty factitious. We might suppose that it was possible to say, after all, most of us want more or less the same things: food and drink and sexual intercourse, amusement, art, science, and the longest possible life for individuals and for the species. Let them simply say, this is what we happen to like, and go on to condition man in the way most likely to produce it. Where's the trouble? But this will not answer. In the first place, it is false that we all really like the same things. But even if we did, what motive is to impel the conditioners to scorn delights and live laborious days in order that we and posterity may have what we like? Their duty? But that is only the Tao which they may decide to impose to us, but which cannot be valid for them. If they accept it, then they are no longer the makers of conscience, but still its subjects, and their final conquest over nature has not really happened. The preservation of the species, but why should the species be preserved? One of the questions before them is whether this feeling for posterity, they know well how it is produced, shall be continued or not. However far they go back or down, they can find no ground to stand on. Every motive they try to act on becomes at once a petitio. Petitio. It is not that they are bad men. They are not men at all. Stepping outside the Tao, they have stepped into the void. Nor are their subjects necessarily unhappy men. They are not men at all. They are artifacts. Man's final conquest has proven to be the abolition of man. Yet the conditioners will act. When I said just now that all motives fail them, I should have said all motives except one. All motives that claimed any validity other than that of their felt emotional weight at a given moment have failed them. Everything except the sic volvo, sic jubeo, has been explained away. But when never claimed objectivity cannot destroyed by subjectivism. The impulse to scratch when I itch, or to pull to pieces when I am inquisitive, is immune from the solvent which is fatal to my justice, or honor, or care for posterity. When all that says it is good has been debunked, what says I want remains? It cannot be exploded or seen through because it never had any pretensions. The conditioners, therefore, must come to be motivated simply by their own pleasure. I am not here speaking of the corrupting influence of power, nor expressing the fear that under it our conditioners will degenerate. The very words corrupt and degenerate imply a doctrine of value and are therefore meaningless in this context. My point is that those who stand outside all judgments of value cannot have any ground for preferring one of their own impulses to another except the emotional strength of that impulses. Okay, that's it for today. This is Minky. Please correct me if you can. Thank you.